This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, everybody. This is Dr. Doug Smith. It is Thursday at 2:30. So it is time for our Monday through Thursday 2:30 podcast. This is the podcast where you will hear the science about what actually happened to people in this opioid crisis. And today is an exciting day for us. Take a look at your screen. Okay, there's the book cover. We're making tremendous progress on this book. Um, and I'm really liking the book. And the reason that I'm liking the book is when people have read chapters, nobody's read the whole book yet but me, but when people have read chapters, they're getting out of it what I was hoping that they would get out of it. Okay, they're getting out of it that wow, there was a tremendous amount of science that was there before the opioid crisis happened, and there was enough science that should have prevented the opioid crisis. And the other thing that they're getting out of it is, wow, the pharmaceutical companies don't have a leg to stand on. They're going to get crushed in court. These mass tort lawsuits are going to absolutely crush them, and they need to be crushed. They need to be crushed. The pharmaceutical industry and the psychiatrists, they need to be crushed, and the rehab centers, they need to be crushed. And the reason that they need to be crushed is not just revenge, although I don't have a problem against revenge. I don't have a problem with that at all. Okay. And whether and whatever your motive is for doing the mass tort lawsuit, whether it's to see justice, to see revenge, to see these companies pay, to serve as a deterrent from these companies ever doing something like this again, whatever your reason is, if part of your motivation is revenge, I'm totally cool with that, because when I look at what these companies did, I want revenge for you. Okay, I want revenge for you. I want to see not just justice. I want to see revenge. There are some companies that I hope they don't survive this process. I hope they go out of business. I would love to see some of the executives criminally charged, but I'm not going to set that false hope. That may be a bridge too far. And Lord knows I'd love to see some of these bureaucratic officials criminally charged. In fact, you may not know this, but I've already referred a number of the people from the FDA to Attorney General Pam Bondi for consideration for criminal charges, because I feel their negligence reached that level, and they killed so many people. If the bureaucrats have this thing called sovereign immunity. Sovereign immunity means immunity by the government. It's a tough cloak to pierce. Sovereign immunity is tough. It's the courts don't want to deal with it. The judges don't want to deal with it. For the most part, it stands, and it's mighty tough. And so these bureaucrats, it's going to be hard to get through and see individual justice on them. I think with the bureaucracies, the most we can hope for is to slice their budgets by 80% and just basically shut them down and start over again. I think that's all you can do. But anyway, take a look at the cover there. Pharmaceutical genocide, the opioid poisoning exposed. And look closely, and that's DNA in red, and then you see the methyl groups, the carbon and the three hydrogens. I like it a lot. I like the cover. I like the book. Very excited. I was actually thinking of the people who have registered to be in the first wave of mass tort lawsuits, as we finish the chapter by chapter, sending it through to them and asking them to take a look and tell us what they think about be the first ones to read it. And so if you're out there and you're thinking about joining the mass tort lawsuits, please, let's do. I mean, think about what we looked at yesterday. Okay, that image is burned in my brain. That image we looked at yesterday is burned in my brain. I hope it's burned in your brain, because what we looked at yesterday, that's what death looks like in the lab. Okay, and in my mind, at least, these people were killed. They were murdered. That's how I see it. Okay, I consider some of these rehab centers to be murderers. I consider some of these psychiatrists to be murderers. Okay, if you tell somebody to get off the opioids and you put them into the sickness, you put them into what is commonly referred to as opioid withdrawal, you put them into what we call the signature disease, you put them into it's a neurotoxicity. It's a toxicity within the nervous system. Specifically, it's a toxicity within the part of the nervous system known as the autonomic nervous system. So it's autonomic dysfunction, and it has with it adrenaline toxicity, toxic adrenaline levels. And those toxic adrenaline levels drove the heart to failure, which is what adrenaline will do. I mean, there's nothing, new about that. Adrenaline will kill you. Okay, that's why Mother Nature has put incredible constraints on the use of adrenaline. Okay, it's got to be approved by the nervous system, which it can do almost instantaneously. It's got to be approved by the nervous system. Only the nervous system can issue adrenaline, and then adrenaline has a 2-minute half-life. Every 2 minutes, half of it's gone. Okay, so in 8, 10, 12 minutes after you get a surge of adrenaline, it's gone. Okay, but what we saw was people with elevated adrenaline levels for days, unprecedented. Nothing like it in the history of our species. Unprecedented. And we know what the adrenaline does. Okay, a couple of days ago, we looked at the article from Kienbaum, the German anesthesiologist, and Kienbaum put 10 volunteers from the local methadone clinic to sleep, put them into withdrawal with Narcan, and measured their cardiac index. Okay, it's called cardiac index. It can be confusing, cardiac output and cardiac index, and I know it can be confusing. And I remember going through med school, and it was, I was like, wait a minute, which one's cardiac output, which one's cardiac index? But the key is the cardiac index has been indexed to the body size. Okay, 118-pound female versus 285-pound male. Okay, the cardiac output's been indexed to the body size, so it's called the cardiac index. And Kienbaum measured the cardiac index. Anything above 4 is deadly. Anything above a cardiac index of 4 is deadly. Anything above a cardiac index of 4 is a high output heart failure. And Kienbaum measured the cardiac index, and it took about 45 minutes for the cardiac index to reach its peak. And once it reached its peak, it stayed there. It plateaued. It didn't come down. It didn't vary. And it stayed right at 4.7. Okay, that's 4.7 liters per minute per meter squared. That's high output heart failure. Okay, no, that's not going to be survivable for everybody. Okay, and ultimately, it's probably not going to be survivable for anybody. Okay, it'll eventually kill anybody. You can't, the heart can't do that. It wasn't built for that. If you can't get away from the lion and the bear pretty fast, well, that's that. You had your chance. Heart's not going to run at those levels. And what we looked at yesterday, it just breaks my heart, no pun intended, just breaks my heart. We were looking at the fall in cardiac output. And if you get into it deeper, and maybe we should do that next week, we'll get into it deeper. If you get into it deeper, it just breaks my heart to see it, because the heart rate stays up. Okay, the body doesn't want to die. Okay, the body resists death in most cases. Okay, I've been around death plenty. My background's emergency medicine. I've been around death plenty. The body resists death in most cases. And in these cases, you can see it clear as day. The heart rate stays up. It's the stroke volume that falls. The heart's just not pushing it. The muscle gets so weak, it can't push any blood forward. Okay, the heart's just pounding away as fast as it can, but it's not moving any blood because so many of the cells have died. So many of the muscle fibers have died. So much of the heart itself has died. And that's what we looked at yesterday. And eventually you lose consciousness, and eventually you die. And that's what happened to 4 million people. Although our deaths look like they're more of a mixed bag. Look like there's some aortic dissections in there. Looks like there's some heart failure in there. Looks like there's some myocardial infarction, what most people would call a heart attack in there. And it's the end stage is, the how you die at the very end varies a little bit. It varies a little bit. For some people, the heart just beats and beats and beats and beats and beats until there's just no blood moving forward, and they die of heart failure. Other people, they as the cardiac output drops and there's no oxygen getting to anywhere anymore, no oxygen getting to the heart or anywhere else, they suffer a massive heart attack, and they die from lack of oxygen. And then other people, they'll have something in the vascular system. The large artery in the body, largest artery in the body is aorta. That's a big one in the chest and abdomen. It's big. I remember the first time I saw an aortic knife wound. But that's that's not something you want to see. It's amazing how much. Anyway, I shouldn't even have brought that up. I take that back. Some of our people died from vascular results, a tearing of the aorta, or a tearing of one of the blood vessels in the brain, stroke. So we'll hold here for today. Once again, as we close, I want to bring your attention back to the book cover. I'm happy. I'm proud to be bringing you this book. I want this book to change your life. I want this book to give you hope that we can see justice. I want this book to bring you hope that the people who are responsible for the opioid crisis are not going to get away with it. We're not going to let them get away with it. And I know Alex shares my feelings also. We're not going to let them get away with this. And so far they have. And we're the only ones who are trying to bring them to justice. So we need your help as much as possible. Let's hold here for today. Everybody have a great day. Have a great afternoon. Have a great weekend. We will see you back next week. Alex is working away furiously to get us to a really high level of email and text messages that can go out every day, so we can send out our public service announcement and tell more and more people about hey, we can bring these guys to justice. Okay, and we invite you to be a part of this process. Join us. It's not just me and Alex doing this. Join us. Stand with us. Okay, stand with us. Be in the first wave of mass tort lawsuits, and tell these guys you're not going to let them get away with it. They killed 5 million people, 4 million from a cardiovascular death and 1 million from overdoses. They killed 5 million people. We're not going to let them get away with it. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us. Don't forget to post this podcast on your social media and everybody else's social media. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.